Hey folks, Jonathan Wilson, Toga Man GuitarViols, and today I'm just going to talk a little bit about adjusting the bridge position, because sometimes it can drift out and our notes can go sharp or flat. What happens is when the instrument's set up, it's all in the correct position, and because we have little fixed positions on the fingerboard, that if, just like a guitar or an archtop guitar, it's got to come either this way or that way. And so the rule being is that when we take the bridge and we go towards the tail, we're going flat. So if the note is too sharp, then we want to bring it this way. If it's too flat, we want to come this way towards the neck. Now this can be a little bit tricky and perhaps even intimidating, so I'm just going to walk through this a little bit. When I'm doing the setup, typically, I mean, mostly I'm going to be kind of somewhat slacking the strings a little bit. But let's say that sounds a little sharp to me, so I'm going to bring the bridge over now. So we have to kind of take our thumbs on both sides of the bridge, and I'm going to nudge it. I nudged it this way a little bit. I went a little too far, so. So we can do that with a tuner, of course. A couple of very important things though. One is that probably if you're doing this at home, I'm gonna recommend we would slack the strings a little bit and move it around and retune it. I'm a little more confident doing this every day, but when you're doing this at home, you wanna stick this on a flat surface. I happen to have this nice tricky little, cradle this thing goes into, so it's sort of meant to be laying flat. But if you do this, you can lay it flat on the table, and perhaps with a pillow or just on your kitchen table or whatever, where it's safe and it's not going to fall. And basically we can, you take both sides of the bridge, and so if I needed to pull the bass side for this side, for example, I would just kind of give it a really good nudge this way. Now, if I'm doing it, I would step on the other side of it if I'm coming this way. So if I'm pulling it this way, you want to be pretty much standing in the direction you want to pull it towards in general. And of course we want to have our thumb and our index fingers, actually a couple of fingers on each side, because you can see the bridge has got a couple of very small points here that are holding it together, so we can break that if we're not careful. So basically we can slack the strings a little bit and check the intonation. What I like to do sometimes too is take a Sharpie and just mark where they wind up. And then you can have a reference visually to when you're moving it around. I want to talk about also, so basically you get the best average on each one of them, the lowest one. And I'll probably go and finagle with that stuff. So let's say, for example, my ear is telling me that's a little sharp, so I'm going to bring it back just a little bit this way towards the tail. So if it's sharp, you want to come towards the tail. If it's flat, you want to go this way towards the fingerboard. And that's very much like an archtop guitar. It's the same thing. You want to have the bridge kind of positioned where it's going to be right. Once you get it, and then you can kind of retune it and all that kind of stuff. Now it's very important too that the bridge is basically, you want it to be sort of a 90-degree angle off the top, as close as you can get it. If I'm feeling that this is a little off, I go to the bottom of the feet like this, and I'd say nudge it, and I'm pulling it over there. So this position didn't change at all, but this one did. And then the other thing is, we want to make sure that it's centered relative this way. So if I pull it out this way or that way, I'm going to show you what actually happens though when we have it incorrectly placed. So these dots here represent the strings, and this is representing the fingerboard. This is a good position right there. What happens is if we push the bridge this way too much, we're going to be choking out, and the other lower string is going to be ridiculously high and even off the neck. If we go too far this way, the opposite happens. We have high action on the treble side and on the bass side. So I'm kind of flipping it over. And so we want it to be pretty much centered. So that's very important too. Anyway, that's some of the steps you can take. So basically, if you are determining that some of your notes are, say, sharp, which is what I would imagine, because the instrument settles this way and it sort of will go, we have to pull it back a little bit. I've seen instruments drift about close to an eighth of an inch off. So generally the bridge has to come this way towards the tail when the instrument's kind of in its initial settling in period. And then that kind of goes away after a while. But that can take a few months or weeks or whatever. So again, we're just, if we're determining it's sharp, we want to go this way. If we're determining it's flat, we want to go this way. Anyway, if you feel like you're stuck with this, reach out and we can arrange a FaceTime and I'll walk you through it. Generally, we're talking about California hours here, so it's going to have to be somewhere between 10 o'clock and 4 o'clock California time, and with a little notice on my end, of course. I have to set it up and that kind of thing. So anyway, have an exceedingly awesome day. Stay inspired.